I'm gonna be honest. It's my journey, right? It's my
Yeah,
experience.
yeah.
I think everything is about recovery.
Exactly.
Welcome to the Vitality Handbook. My name is Yao A. Owusu Jr., the Wizard. To my left, I have Nicholas Lopez Jr., the Terminator. And to my right, of course, making us look good, Andre Bibbins Jr. Like we said, from first season, second season, third season, and now we just count them down. It's time. We're going to talk about recovery in the physical realm. Fellas, let's blast it off. I think everything is about recovery. Let's take it how we want it, right? Or how you all want it. All of our 1,500 subscribers, we thank you. Thank you for that subscription. All right, we thank you. Let's get it going. We got a great one for you today. Physical recovery. My thing is during exercise, after exercise, before exercise, during the week, during the weeks, months. What's important? What should we highlight? Where should we start when we're talking about physical recovery, not just from exercise, but from daily life, just from being a human being, recovering from stress, from work, from kids, from bills, right? And then obviously you add in the things that make you well, exercise and whatnot.
On the physical recovery part, I would say being realistic about where you are with your current conditioning status.
Okay.
Right? Because sometimes recommendations may not account for the fact that this person is now conditioned for that.
Okay.
Right? So if someone on the schedule, it says 3 to 4 strength training sessions a week, plus another 1 to 2 high intensity cardio conditioning days. We could talk about that, right? How does somebody know whether they're ready for that off the bat week one? Because there's a balance between, that balance is, damn, I have to go through this in order to get prepared for it.
Okay.
But what's the right way to jump into something like that? And where can people go wrong when it comes to not being recovered for something like that?
So that's a high intense. Like if you're training 4 to 5 days a week, that's already high intense type of training. Most of you guys out there can't do that. But if you're doing that and you, not to mean any disrespect, I'm just saying like you might not have the time. You might
Sorry,
not
it's
have the
true,
current energy.
but go ahead.
You can't do that. So that's really, really high intense. So if someone is doing some high intense work, you're asking what would be the most appropriate way to fit in recovery?
My personal experience is, okay, I finally feel a sense of, okay, my conditioning is improving, so I'm actually ready, I'm recovering faster, I'm actually ready to start training additional times per week, still getting recovered, still be on top of a game, doing harder workouts, not feeling pain. Feeling recovered, feeling new connections.
Okay.
So I went from training to say 3 to 4 times, now I'm like, all right, I'm ready. I just feel it. It's like this sense of like, oh, I feel I'm ready for 4 to 5.
I see what you're saying. I think Dre will be, not to cut you off, but I think Dre will be, I would be interested to hear what he says, because you said conditioning. So let's just, what are we talking about when we say conditioning? Are you really conditioning, right? What are you doing, right? So Dre, I would like to hear your take on that.
The way you have to program is it's by time. I'm going to say with that. If you're training 5 times a week, you have to know how much time and the effort that you're putting into the training session, right? So if you're training 5 times a week, your schedule, first we got to see if you're doing, that's a little extreme, but let's say if you're doing Monday through Friday, right? 5 times a week. You have to program your muscle groups the correct way. Let's say for the legs, if you know you have track work on Tuesday, don't go in and crush your hamstrings and you got to do single leg hops or B skips and A skips. You're not going to be able to fire off like you want to. So you need to know how to program the correct way. So if you know you have to do the track work, what is that based off of? Here, right? Lower body. So don't hit the legs. Do whatever you feel. I don't know, shoulders and triceps, right? Now you're fresh for tomorrow to hit the lower body and crush it. Like Lee Haney said, right? Don't annihilate, right? Stimulate, but you need to annihilate the muscle sometime, right? That's a whole different level of what a meaning. There's so much behind that annihilate and don't annihilate thing, right? And now, so you got Tuesday, then Wednesday, do some like, I don't know, calisthenics, maybe chest and back, right? And you got your track work again. I'm just saying based off of you, because I know you do a lot of the track work stuff. Right. You have to let that recover and rest. So on your track day, I would suggest do your strength training first, right? And then towards the end, you save, so 30 minutes of strength training for legs. You don't got to do anything crazy. You can do hamstring, curl on the ball, do something to stimulate it, not annihilate it, to where you can actually perform that extra 30 to 45 minutes of that work, right? And that's going to be conditioning the actual muscle for the strength and the conditioning, right? So you're going to have your main day where it's all lower body track work, no strength. And then you have your second day of your track work stuff where you're implementing in, lunges, whatever things you pick, right? Weighted training, loaded weighted training for the legs. And then you go because you want to work you don't always want to work at a fresh state, right? When you're trying to condition your body and get better, because what if you're so used to working in that fresh state, when it's time to really perform, you already know your adrenaline, you need to know how it feels to be at a fatigue state, not a complete fatigue state, right? You still have to balance that, right? We all want to push ourselves, but you kind of, and it's hard to balance that. Like we know, it's hard to balance that, you know what I mean? But I think that comes with experience, right? To kind of know, and then from there, and you can program it during that 5 day, and then you can see how you feel, right? See if you recover, and see if you can. Don't go and say, okay, now the next week I'm going to amp it up. No, repeat it again. See if you can duplicate that same feeling and adrenaline and all that excitement that you had. See if you can duplicate that same thing the next week, right? And then do your time and see if you recover faster during the breaks in routine, right? So that's how you'll judge your conditioning, right?
Okay. I like that breakdown. Now, that's obviously a very detailed breakdown. Keep rewinding that tape so you can understand what he's actually saying. You're saying that's more of recovery in a week program. You might have a very heavy day, a more light day, more calisthenic day. So you're actually changing the intensity of what you're doing throughout that week. And that is how you can recover if you're going to train 5 days a week. So I like the variables of changing the intensity. Okay, so we're talking about variables to help recover. So what variables? How intense is your workout? Are you doing CrossFit 5 days in a row? Your body might not recover. Are you doing boxing, sparring 5 days in a row? Or are you doing track work 5 days in a row? You're lifting heavy compounds. So he's saying you need to vary your intensity throughout the week if you want to train for multiple times during the week, still recover to reduce your propensity for injury. I love that. So that's the recovery aspect. Okay, so let's talk about rest. So those are recovery aspects. Now let's talk about rest. Where does that come in recovery?
Rest is key, but it depends on what type of rest, right? So you have your rest where you're just like lazy rest, but you're resting that day. Or even let's say if another scenario, we're talking. So let's say if, you're on that training session and you're doing your training 5 times a week. I'm just going off of that. And now you come in and you have to have clients or you have a work day and all that stuff. You have to sneak in rest periods, right? But it's like, and when I say about rest, meaning, okay, you're going to go on your mental health rest, right? Kind of just like prepping yourself mentally and keeping control of all the ups and downs throughout the day. And you need to find a way to sneak in rest periods. So, we're privileged to be at the gym and, we're privileged to say, okay, instead of you, I don't want to give them, because I'm giving details, but, we're privileged to be in the gym. We can lay down a mat and just kick our feet up, right? Kick our feet up, put our head back 15, 20 minutes, sneak in those rest periods. Right, I would say that, and last but not least is just have a day, honestly, to really just don't do anything, just completely rest. I guarantee you, the next day you will feel a lot better. But it's a catch-22 because sometimes you can have those rest days and you'll fall in a trap. You know what? I need another one, and then you can fall in that trap when you feel that way, right? And you might not feel recovery. You might feel like you need more recovery, but you really don't. Right, and then when you do decide, you say, you know what, let me take another day, but you decide not to take the other day, you decide to have that 24-hour break, and then you train again, you'll say, you know what, good thing I didn't take the day off. I just had to wake my body up from being in a relaxed state, right? And a relaxed mind state as well, I would say.
I like that. So finding rest periods throughout the day, through your busy schedule at work, if you're just working a 9 to 5, or you could be in meetings as a C-suite executive, or you could be a mother at home, finding those times during the day to take a rest, and then obviously offering over that one day to kind of have a rest. I like that. And it's all varied. It depends on how intense you are and how well you're managing your stress. In my opinion, if you're a good manager of stress, then you might not need days of just lazy rest, as Dre would say, just sitting down, Netflix and chilling. All right, so that mental, I heard that the mental break.
Yeah,
right?
the mental break for sure.
We're going to get back to that before the episode is over. Okay, Nick, so we're talking about recovery in the beginning, now we're talking about rest. Where do you see that in importance for the zeitgeist out there when you're telling them you need a rest? Okay, what are you talking about rest?
Yeah, this topic is more exciting for me because more recently, Dre brought up this nuanced approach of something you can only sense through experience, and that basically the experience of being in your own body.
Okay.
Right. It's not like, that's like a nuanced aspect of, for the zeitgeist or even athletes or just humans in general.
Uh-huh.
There's this compounding or accumulating experience of being in your own body.
Okay.
So
more aware.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so with that being said, as it relates to rest in particular, technically your body is never at rest, right? Your body's always moving, right? Your body's always doing something, right?
Yeah,
like
you rest, you're dead.
Like even if, let's say your legs are super sore,
right,
and you are taking a rest day, technically your body's still trying to get rid of that inflammation. Uh-huh. There's maybe some new pathways being built neurologically or reinforced neurologically. Okay. Maybe there's maybe sometimes there's maybe an adhesion from, maybe you had a tough movement that you weren't maybe ready for, and now there's like some adhesion in those muscles. So rest also has this nuanced approach where the more experience you get inside your body, you will know, damn, I really taxed. Okay, so for the audience, right, depending on what type of workout you did, as you get more experience of being in your own body, which you have to take ownership for, because it's your body, until they come out with the machines where, they can plug your body up and someone can think about an exercise for you and you don't have to do anything. But until you get there, you have to take ownership for being in your own body and building up that experience, right? Everybody talks about experience of your resume, the corporate life, but you have to build the experience of not only being in your body, but in this case, we're talking about rest. Mm-hmm. So let's say it's a workout that really taxed the nervous system. There's new movements you've never done before, and at a very high intensity level. Mm-hmm. And for your legs, right? Maybe your glutes aren't as sore as when you did that 500 squat challenge. But you went through a whole new set of movements for maybe longer than you've ever trained before. Mm-hmm. You don't feel your glutes sore, but you just feel, it's almost like, this is where we can go into, this is like a nuanced approach. You can just tell that your body is reprogramming how it understands that your legs are supposed to work.
Okay.
And this is intentionally left to be nuanced because we can't really say, hey, let's check in if your nervous system is fully recovered from yesterday's session.
So what approach would you take for rest? What approach would you take if that's being said?
The right answer to that question of what that person can do, what that person should do, based on whatever workout is taxing them and maybe they have to rest from or recover from, has to be one that ends up having them learn something new about their body in a sense. And that's why I obviously get super excited about learning something new. So neurologically speaking, like when I'm doing some of the new foot conditioning drills, okay? There's a point in that workout where I'm like, the same mental gas pedal I was pressing throughout the whole 50 minutes, around minute 60, I'm pressing that pedal the same way, but I'm not getting the same acceleration.
Yeah.
Mentally, I'm not fatigued.
Your body's fatigued.
But your body,
But I'm noticing I'm getting a feedback loop where my body's telling my mind, not my mind telling my body.
Right.
So there's like a switch here where it gets very nuanced where
So in that aspect, what would you do for rest? That you feel that fatigue, your foot's fatiguing, what would you do for rest?
being realistic because of my personality, if I'm in that personality mode, I'd be like, all right, let me try one more set real quick.
Exactly.
So you would not rest.
I'm gonna be honest. It's my journey, right? It's my
Yeah,
experience.
yeah.
I would say, let me try one more time just to make sure that this is not an opportunity to really push it, but I'm not gonna go crazy. I'm not gonna try, if it was my second round of, let's say, a sprint, I'm not gonna try to sprint even faster when I know I'm feeling that signal of, oh, my body and my mind are not in sync anymore. I'm gonna try again, but not I'm just gonna make sure, damn, can I do one more round with still feeling my toes in the same way I was feeling them? And if I can't, that means it's time to end the workout.
So you would try and push it a little bit more instead of rest. I'm still eager to see, maybe as we go through the conversation, it'll come to click to you.
So you said now you're mentally you want to push, but your body is telling you no. So you're not listening to the body. So that's where you have to, during your experience now, is to reverse that and say, you know what, let me listen to my body because of et cetera, happening during the past. And I would say, instead of pushing through, either call it quits, stop it right there or call it quits, stop it right there, right? You got to your best. There's nothing else left in you to get to your max. You're only going to either damage something or it's going to take you longer to recover, right? Because you're pushing yourself to now over the threshold, right? So that's why I would say either stop or say, you know what, I'm going to take a 3-minute break, right? Loosen up, do some leg swings, stay loose, and then try again versus you saying, I'm going to push because you already hit the max. So
you're already at 100%.
You're already at 100%. You can't go over.
More than 100%.
You can't, especially sprinting, especially something like that. You got it. Yeah, high intense like that. Yeah, you're already over. So either rest doing and see if you can do it again versus him saying, you know what, I'm gonna do it again versus saying I'm gonna rest and let me see how I perform. Right. So I would say that, I would go ahead.
I would say this is great. This is real time. That this is not scripted. We're seeing that we're actually thinking about it. They're thinking about things as they're going, and he's giving you real life experience that he's doing, so you guys can relate to that. But I would just say, to piggyback off of both of them, when we're talking about recovery and rest, now we're seeing the importance of doing that in session. So if you're at your max, like Dre said, you're at your max, can't go anymore. So that's when you must rest. So I think it's important that you have to have rest and recovery before the session, right? So let's say you're going to train today. Today is Wednesday. Tuesday night, what did you do to rest and recover so you're going to be good for Wednesday? Then within that session on Wednesday, you have sprinting. You should already have in your mind what your rest periods are going to be. I'm going to do 10 sprints, right? And within that 10 sprints, I'm going to have a rest period at 5 sprints. Then I'll have another rest period at 10 sprint mark. That's one set. You see what I'm saying? Then I'll do it again. So just make sure that whoever's programming for you, or if you're programming, that you have that rest period afterwards. And then you can play around with it. That was too easy. 5 wasn't hard enough for me. Then the next time you do it, let me do 6, let me do 7. That'll help you to not experiment so much within the session and will heighten your propensity for injury rate. So that'll be for that. And then to go on to a week rest, definitely, like Dre said, have a rest period throughout the week that you can not, one, just mentally let go, so you're not always in that training mode, and then kind of speak with your coach or speak with your trainer or learn through us when to put in a full rest day in there. Okay? All right, perfect. So we tackled a little bit about recovery, then we tackled a little bit about rest. What would be the approach that you guys would take, all right, if we're talking to our audience out there for them? They're starting a program. It might be intense, it might be medium intensity, it might be low intensity. How should they go about that? Should they focus more on in the session resting, throughout the week resting, or out through the months of their training resting? All right, Nick, so we're going to go to you first. Rest periods before after the workout, during the workout, throughout the weeks or throughout the months? What are your rest or recovery aspects? General population, not what you would do. What would you advise them to do?
All right, you know what? I'm going to go post-workout.
Okay.
Post-workout. Post-workout.
Okay.
Because you have to eat. I mean, that's what the science says about learning.
Tell us what post-workout means. What is that?
As soon as your workout's done, spend some time on recovery.
Okay.
Whatever you need. If you just hit your legs, stretch your legs out.
Okay.
Okay? This is standard, like learning science. You don't form new memory pathways while you're learning the skill. You do it while you sleep, while you're at rest.
Got it.
That's when things, so same thing with the workout. You're gonna get that benefit when you sleep too, but right after the workout, you have an opportunity to really consolidate what you covered in training by just, let's say you annihilated or stimulated your hamstrings.
Got it.
Do a hamstring stretch post-workout, assisted, static, you hold for 60 seconds or more and explore, feel, oh, I felt my hamstrings like this, or man, I did burning, or man, this and that.
Okay.
And then, and that's it. It takes about 5 minutes.
So post-workout. Dre.
2 to 3 times a week. And if you were scheduled for 3 times a week, don't get discouraged and try to make it up the next week. You're not going to be able to make it up. Stick to the plan. That's how you're going to stay healthy. Once you build that up, like I said, then you could, go to 4 times a week. And let's say if you had yourself scheduled for 3 times a week of training, it's okay to do a Monday, Tuesday, right? Take off Wednesday, Thursday, come back Friday, or do it Saturday. It's okay.
That. I will stick with the same thing. I like all of them. I would say for sure, program rest periods or recovery periods throughout your weeks, right? Because let's say you do high intensity, you do some post stretching and whatnot, but you go high intensity again the next day. I think for all of you guys out there, space your workouts. Don't just look at Instagram followers and think that they're doing the same thing over and over again. They're resting, or else they're going to stop posting because things will rip and tear. So make sure if you pick a program, whatever it is, make sure they are rest periods throughout the week so you can continue training. Don't worry about just in that micro, do I have it perfect, if it's your first time getting into training. I love that, guys. So, as always, like, share, subscribe. Rewind the tape for that gem for Dre, and in the beginning for Nicholas. Again, Yao Owusu Jr., your resident vitality consultant, Andre Bibbins Jr., Nicholas Lopez Jr. Let's get into it.
Yeah.